Hey everyone, in this video I want to show you how to build an authentic granite cobblestone retaining wall. I really think cobblestones are the way to go with retaining walls that you want to look historic, a little bit antique, a little bit unique. Natural building material, very forgiving of a bad homeowner style construction process. So this is what we're working with right now. There's this big hill, it's about 3 feet high, and it's got this horrible slant with everything that erodes and slopes toward the sidewalk here. It's basically impossible to grow anything normal. And if we're being honest, it looks like I gotta clean this up. I wanna make it look good, but I don't want it to look like every other retaining wall in the entire world. That's why I'm gonna do things a little bit differently in this video, so let's get started. Yes, those cobblestones, the things we used to pave our roads with and build houses and sidewalks before we decided to make everything ugly. I think it's time they made a comeback. The materials you'll want for this project are, obviously, some granite cobblestones. I'll leave a link in the description for where I got mine. You also need to pick up some paver base, mortar, and gravel. The real work begins with digging out a foundation. But wait a minute, how do you know how much to dig? A good rule of thumb is that the depth of your foundation should be about 1/3 of the wall's height, so I'm only digging out 3 to 4 inches. Plus, I'm doing 13 inches back from... Actually, let's do a diagram. Okay, we've got our sidewalk and our hill. Steep at first, then tapers off, and it's 3 feet at its highest. Now, what we're going for here is not having that steep drop, but rather a nice gradual descent down to 15-inch elevation instead of a 0-inch elevation. That change in geometry is what gives us the benefits we're after. If we zoom in, this is what it looks like right under and behind the wall itself. Because each cobblestone is 5 by 5 by 9, approximately, and we want to leave 8 inches behind the wall for gravel and so forth, we end up with 13 inches total that we need to dig out. Oh, you'll also want some landscape fabric. This will wrap around the paver base, gravel, and the PVC drainage pipe to keep it all separated from the dirt. And you can keep it in place using any regular garden staples that you have around. And get a tamper or something and pack it in there so it's flat and level. You might not have to do this, but I had to get these backer rods. What this does is keep the stones separated from my driveway there on the right and the sidewalk running in front of the wall. You do not want two masonry structures to be joined together. You will have problems. Now, before you go and start making stuff permanent, you'll want to do a dry run and get everything to fit the way you want. There's quite a bit of variation in the size of each stone, which is what gives them their charm. Before you lay down any mortar, you'll want to wet down the area. This is so that the water stays in the mortar and cures in there, rather than being sucked out by the surrounding environment. Laying these stones isn't rocket science. You plop some mortar down, wiggle the stone into the mortar, and repeat for each stone. Hey, if the mortar's still wet, it ain't over yet. Okay, here's something I haven't talked that much about yet. The drainage pipe that goes along the base of the wall, right behind it, is there for, well, drainage. So all I'm doing is assembling a pipe. It's about 20 feet long in my case, drilling some holes throughout, and this is where I'm going to be wrapping in fabric and will be buried under gravel. This will allow the water to travel laterally along the wall rather than trying to push out through the wall. Yoink! And that's what I mean by laterally. It comes out the side. I just put a 45-degree PVC elbow on the end of the pipe. And this is what you do with the landscape fabric. After you put the pipe in, you just wrap it around the pipe like a long burrito. And then you finally get to use all that gravel that's been sitting around your yard that you got at the very beginning of the project but didn't realize that you'd have a couple days of work to do before you actually got to use it. Like I showed in the diagram, once you've got the drainage pipe put in and the landscape fabric wrapped around it, you want to fill in most of the rest of the space behind the wall with gravel. My spray painting skills could use some work. This is just regular camouflage paint. It's like a very matte, so it kind of blends in with the surroundings. And not just because I also accidentally spray painted the surroundings. It'll look good once I clean this up. Now I'm putting this block behind the center of the wall. I've got a pretty long stretch of stone, 20 feet, without any other support. So the weakest point of this wall is in the middle. I'm just staking down this block in the middle to resist the force of the soil behind the wall. And then I place a stone on top of it, which I think looks pretty cool. Getting close to a finished product here, just laying down the third and final row of cobblestones. The thing that saved my life in this project is having this rolly cart. I can just stick my mortar pan in and roll it along behind me so I don't have to drag or try to carry my mortar everywhere with me. Made everything a lot easier. After the mortar dries for about, call it an hour, you want to go back with a jointer and a sponge to clean up these joints. This is really the trick, the key to making this wall look good, look professional, but also look kind of antique and rustic at the same time. You pack in the vertical joints the same way you do the horizontal ones. The only thing I would add here is you want to leave a few vertical joints in the first row on the bottom open. This is another way for water to escape through the wall that may have missed the pipe or something. As part of the finishing touches, you'll want to take the sponge around and clean up any thin films of mortar that may be left over on the stone, and use the trowel to scrape off any extra pieces that are protruding from the joints. And you want to do this after it's mostly dry, otherwise you'll just make an even bigger mess. All right, got the wall built, looking good, but hard to call this project done when the front yard still looks like that. So luckily I can solve this problem with an 8-second time lapse. By the way, I'm using one of these electric cultivators. I think I got this one from Lowe's. I'll leave a link somewhere. This turned out to be really useful at softening up the ground, helping me remove a bunch of that old junk, and preparing the soil for sod installation. I'm no expert on this, of course, but with sod, I think you roll it out, and then you water the bejesus out of it. Like, I don't understand why people pay to go to the gym. It's like we have millions of people paying someone else to do make-believe work. Meanwhile, you can just get a yard and effectively pay yourself to do work. I don't get it. Well, anyway, I got the sod put down. I think I can call everything done here, and for a bad homeowner project, I'm going to call this one not bad. Hey everybody, if you enjoyed this project, if you learned something, if you gained a newfound appreciation for granite cobblestones as a building material, leave a like on this video or subscribe to see my other DIY projects coming up.